Welcome to All About the Girls. I'm your host, Jenny Craig Brown, here with a podcast that's all about empowering stories, laughter, and inspiration. Each episode, we dive into the lives of incredible women who share their journeys, passions, and unique qualities that make them shine. From overcoming challenges to finding purpose, these women open up to show us what success truly looks like. This podcast is your year-round pass to connect with the inspiring stories that make our community and our world a better place. So grab your coffee or your wine, settle in, and let's celebrate strength, spirit, and stories of amazing women. Let's go. Welcome, everybody, to another fantastic episode of All About the Girls, the podcast. And I have a wonderful guest named Marci Taylor with me, who is the manager at WSMK Radio, owner of We Bossy Productions, and the host of the WWBU podcast, which stands for Women Who Boss Up. What a perfect guest. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I am excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. We randomly met. Our story's kind of funny. We randomly met because you were supporting a friend at the Spartan race.
Yes.
And I was at the Spartan race, and our friends introduced us and said, okay, you guys are going to be fast friends. You have to know each other.
Exactly.
And then that was maybe 2 years ago?
It was, yes. Shout out to Sharina.
Yeah, yes. Shout out to Sharina. She is the connector of so many people in my life. So I'm appreciative of her, and especially for this connection because it has been great. And that was prior to us launching Michiana Life. So you have really been a part of that launch and kind of teaching me the region and all of those good things. So I'm excited to kind of share a little bit more about you, just because I think the world needs it. So thanks, Marci. I appreciate you being here.
Yes.
So I'm going to dive right in. And I think for those that have been listening for quite some time, you probably realize that I change the questions ongoing a couple times a year. And of course, with the new year, we've got some new content coming out. So this will be a bit different, which I'm very excited for. We've only got one other episode with this new format. So first up, I want to get to know you, or I want to help the world get to know you a little bit better. So tell us a bit about yourself, kind of what's your story in a nutshell?
Okay, so I'm from Niles. I was born in Niles at a hospital called Powhatan at the time.
Ooh.
And since then, it's changed names several times. It's become Lakeland and Spectrum, and currently it's Corwell.
Okay, so like 4 names ago.
To my knowledge, it might be more, but I don't know. I'm the oldest of 3 children.
Okay.
3 girls, actually. I was an only child until 10.
Ooh, big age gap. That's interesting.
Yes. Imagine me. I was spoiled, right? I'm like, where'd she come from? Like,
wait, I'm sharing the house with others? What is happening?
Sister who? At 10, it's like, wait a minute, what you talking about?
I don't remember asking for this. Yeah.
Exactly, totally. Graduated from Niles High School. Let's see. When I graduated, I had an interest in becoming an accountant. My uncle's an accountant, so I was talking to him. I was like, I think I want to go in accounting.
Interesting.
He said, no, that's not for you.
Oh.
So I was like, okay.
Because he didn't like it, or because he knew better of
He
you?
knew from me that wouldn't be a good fit for me. So
It's not. You're way more personable.
At
You
that
need to
time,
see
I
people.
did. No, but in high school, I loved numbers.
Sure.
Acing math. I was an honor student. Math was my subject. I did
Okay.
numbers. So I figured accounting was where I needed to be.
Absolutely. Seems like a good fit.
Not. So, I'm like, okay, so trying to figure out what I wanted to do after high school. On Fresh Prince, he says, I'm moving with my auntie and uncle to Bel Air. I moved with my auntie and uncle to D.C.
Okay.
So I went to D.C.
I love this.
Still trying to figure it out, and they were like, either you work or you go to school. And I was working at Popeyes at the time. I was there for about a year. And my great-grandmother got sick. So I moved back home.
Okay.
From there, let's see. From there, of course, I had to get a job or go to school. That was the rule. So I got a job at Big Lots, and I was going to Southwestern Michigan College.
Great.
Still didn't know what I wanted to do. I got a job at Channel 16, WNDU, and U93 were housed in the same building.
Okay.
I was the board receptionist there. And it was an experience. I was there only on the weekends, but being a teenager or early, in the early 20s.
Yeah, youngin'.
I didn't watch the news. So, I seen, Mike Collins and Dick Addis and Jack Nolan, Maureen McFadden. Okay, well, they cool. But I had more.
They work here.
I didn't know. I was
Almost like
okay.
nothing crazy.
But back then, I was a U93 listener, so it was like, oh my gosh, that's Mark DeRocher.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, that's David Jewell. And so,
See, Maureen McFadden was like that for me because I just remembered watching the news. Same thing, not a ton, but a little bit. And it was like seeing her in real life. I just remember the first time that I saw her in South Bend somewhere, and I was just like, it's like seeing your teacher at the grocery store. You're like, she's real.
Exactly.
It's awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was an experience. So I was there for a couple of years. And I think now that I'm looking back, that probably is what sparked why I am where I am today in that field.
Okay. That was literally my next question, is kind of what motivated you to get into your career within radio, and podcast, and your production company. But it sounds like that's what it was.
But I didn't know it at the time. So at the end of that, before I left, it was like a very bad winter. And in the production, you got the teleprompter. And so they were like, we really need you because the teleprompter person can't get in because, it was so much snow and they couldn't get in. So I went in the production room and they was like, here, all you got to do is turn the button, right? Just kind of be mindful of how the person is speaking. And I don't remember who the anchors was at the time because I was so nervous.
I would have been too.
And it was like, so at first I was going real slow and you could tell they were kind of like, okay, speed it up. So then I started going real fast. And so then I had to find that happy medium.
The balance, yeah.
So I thought that was like so amazing, right?
The pressure.
There was pressure.
Yeah, there is.
There's serious pressure. And so that was the end of that. I ended up, so I figured, still trying to figure out what I wanted to be. When I grew up, I was like, maybe I want to go into the medical field. So I'm thinking pharmacist, right?
Okay.
So I moved to Grand Rapids. I was going to go, I think it was Ross Medical School up in that area. I was going to go and become a pharmacy technician to see if I really wanted to become a pharmacist.
Smart. A couple steps before. Don't dive right in.
Exactly. I get to Grand Rapids, and I was only there a few months, and I realized Grand Rapids wasn't for me. I was in a bad area. I think that's what kind of just was like, yeah. So I moved back home, and the whole, okay, you got to get a job and or go to school. So I still had the idea of becoming a pharmacy technician. So SMC, Southwestern Michigan College, they had a program. So I signed up for that, and I went through that program. And while I was taking that, I heard an ad on the radio that they were looking for a receptionist. So I went and I applied for that. And I was one of 5 applicants. I got the job. The owner was like, learn all you can and take it someplace else. Use this as a stepping stone. And I said, oh, you're going to teach me?
I love some free training.
Exactly. So I'm thinking I'm going to train, because I didn't want to stay in Niles, Michigan. I'm like, let me just learn all I can and go to Chicago or Detroit or something like that. So I end up working through all the departments, scheduling commercials, billing commercials, writing commercials, producing commercials, sales, promotions. 10 years later, I was the sales manager. 2 years after that, I became the station manager.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at. But, during that journey, I was still going to school. I was doing the pharmacy technician thing. I got certified as a pharmacy technician. Did my internship at Kmart, half of it because we had to do retail and hospital. Then I did my second half at Lakeland. They offered me a weekend position, so I did a weekend pharmacy technician at Lakeland for 10 years.
Wow. And that's the same hospital you mentioned earlier that you were born at.
Yeah.
How full circle.
Exactly. So I worked there for 10 years and still working at the radio station. And, then life just kind of got tough. I had a child. I was a single parent. And so it was like I couldn't, I had to spend time with my child. So
absolutely,
and so I let the weekend job go with the hospital and just kind of focused on the radio station. And let's see, general manager, station manager. So that was it. So then, like in 2020, I was talking to a friend of mine named Rhonda. She would come in on the station and do some motivational minutes.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so she would come in. So one day we were in the studio talking about great people that we had met in the community that had great stories and people didn't know of their stories. So I was like, Rhonda, you ought to start, a show, talking about these great women. She was like, no, ma'am. She was like, it's your idea. you work in radio, you interview people. I think you should do it. And so it's like, let me just pray on it. So I prayed on it for a couple of weeks. And then I had a coworker. Her name was Kelly, and she was going to school to become a doula. And so I'm like, what's a doula? And so she explained, doula is like an advocate for pregnant women and kind of guide them, birthing techniques and all this other stuff. More like, an advocate for women. And she talked about her experience with her first child, how there was some complications and things, and she didn't have that person to help and guide her along the way. And so I was sitting there, I was like, this is a good story. Do you want to be my guinea pig?
This is so cool.
And so she was like my first, it was real quick, when you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you don't know.
Nope, you don't.
And so it was
dive right in. That's kind of the way we learn.
Exactly. It was like a 20-minute interview, and we talked about her life and her experience and why she decided she wanted to be a doula. And thus, I was like, okay, I think I can do this. So then I went back to Rhonda. I said, I did my first episode. You're going to be my second interview. So Rhonda was one. She worked in the corporate world as a therapist, and she left, and she partnered with someone for a business, and then she went solo, and she went on her own. So she was my second interview.
Okay.
So thus, the birthing of A Journey with Women Who Rise Up, A Journey with Women Who Boss Up, Conversations with Women Who Rise Above and Become Bosses.
So, I love this.
Similar
it's like
to
the
your
birth of the podcast. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Exactly. So it was exciting just having conversations with these women, telling their stories.
Because I think you can learn so much from other people's stories, because I think with a story comes their processing through that story, and it's so interesting to learn from, because you get to see how they deal with things, how they adapted, how they jumped over hurdles, whatever it is, and then you kind of get, it's almost advice for future me. If I need to ever in that situation do similar, I can do so, and it's very interesting to see.
Yes, exactly. I've heard some amazing stories. I had a lady who got baptized in the Jordan River.
Oh my gosh.
I have interviewed an opera singer. So I try to hit ladies from different industries, so you can hear different stories. So, I've got fitness people and lawyers and accountants. I ran into a lady while I was in Gary one day, and she produced a couple of films. Her husband helped produce a couple of shows on the show Power. And she and her husband, they have a movie production company. And so I just ran into her, and I was like, oh, I would love to interview you. And so I have, her interview telling her story, how she got into, production, movie production. And let's see, who else? Opera singer, Jordan.
Wow.
And the lady who was blind, she was sighted. I think that was the most interesting story I've done. She was sighted until she was like maybe almost in her 50s, and she had diabetes. So diabetes, she became blind, unsighted, and she wasn't going to let that stop her. So she was a teacher. She wrote a book about herself, and she's like, and people all, they wanted to baby her, and she's like, no, let me do this. And I think that was the most powerful story, because it's like, I'm not going to let any of these barriers stop me because I'm blind. And so
that's incredible. Yeah, what great guests.
Yes. And so that was in 2020. And then in 2022, I decided to start a voiceover company. So it's like, okay, I'm doing all of these media things because of my experience being in radio for over 20 years, right? And so I started the company, We Bossy Productions, where I house the podcast, and I house the voiceover company. And you say, okay, I'm in radio. I have people that say, oh, you have a nice voice. You ought to do radio. People that don't know I'm in radio.
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh,
which is so fantastic. It's got to be great, like, confirmation of I'm in the right place.
I'm in the, yes.
Like, if people tell you should be in radio and you're in radio, it's like, oh, I'm doing well.
Exactly. So I just started, I started it in 2022, but really this year I'm kind of putting more effort into it because I wasn't sure if it's what I really wanted to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so, growing up as a child, my parents would say I would mimic like Richard Pryor and comedians.
Really?
So they thought I was going to be a comedian. I'm like...
It was more for you about the voice.
As I think about it, yes.
Interesting.
Yes. And then as I'm out and about, you know how you run into people with Southern accents or like Jamaican accents and stuff like that? So I'll be talking to someone, and then all of a sudden I'll be talking I don't know if it's just me, and I'll just start talking like them. Like, I'm from Jamaica, just like you. I'm from the South. I'll just change.
You pick it up so
and
fast.
Other people will be like, why are you talking like them? Are you making fun of them? I'm like, what are you talking about? They were like, you were talking regular, then all of a sudden you just start talking in the same accent that they had. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that. But,
interesting. Because you can pick it up quickly and adjust really well.
I wasn't aware
Which is
of
fantastic
that.
for voiceover work, because then you could do darn near any voice.
Well, not darn near any voice, but, with a little practice.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It is,
So that's what started the production company as well. And you do all of the voiceover work yourself, or do you have other folks with you that do some voiceover work too?
Majority of the work I do is, me, but, I can't do a man's voice, so I have 2 guys that I work with
Okay.
if there's a male voice. And my coworker Kelly, the one that's a doula, she's does some stuff for me as well. And so I have a couple people, depending on the type of voice that you want. Do you want a kid's voice? Do you want a southern? Things that I know I can't do, like a man's voice. And I'll just, I have friends that say, hey, can you cut this for me? Can you do this project for me?
That's really cool. Okay, great. So tell me, now that we kind of know that base of kind of how all of 3 of those pieces, tell me, current, present day, what does your career look like? How is that split time-wise between radio, production company, podcast? I know the podcast is kind of part of that production company, but it's still very time-consuming. How do you balance that, and what does that look like as a whole?
Balance? I'm still trying to figure that out.
Right, we all are. That's okay.
Yeah, so the time frame is, I try to do one podcast a month, so that includes the recording and the editing before I actually, go live. So my goal is only 1 a month because that's all I can handle.
Absolutely.
Voiceover work, it just kind of depends on what comes my way. I'm currently on Fiverr, as well, so I get a lot of gigs on Fiverr. And then, if someone just happens to come to me and say, hey, can you cut this? It just depends on what else is going on in my schedule, the work schedule. So
it's making them all balance as those projects
come. So, I have someone that reached out to me and was like, hey, I want to do an audiobook. And I like your voice. I want you to do my audiobook. So we haven't talked yet because she's still doing some editing in her book.
Okay.
But, that'll probably be something forthcoming in the near future.
Oh,
so I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
I've never done an audiobook before.
Yeah, I feel like that's intense, but it would be so neat to be a part of, because then you get to, it's like you get to be someone's voice. Literally.
Exactly. So I'm excited. So I've done commercials. I've done radio intros. I actually, other than working at my radio station, I did a Christian radio station for about a month. So they were looking for someone. So I tracked their 10 to 2 show on an online radio station. I've done some character roles, and I've done some e-learning, some infomercials.
Oh, neat.
So
those are some things that I've done. Yeah, that's really cool. And tell me through that path that you've taken so far in your career, and in your, we'll call it work life. What's a really big challenge that you faced through that time, and how'd you overcome it?
Time is a challenge. Time
great
is a
question,
big
or great
challenge.
answer.
Yes,
great
time.
answer. Time.
When you do so much, and it's like I'm still trying to work through that. But for me, the biggest barrier I want to say is myself, because I'm an introvert, and people look at me and say, no, you're not an introvert.
I literally said earlier today, you are not. No way.
I'm an introvert, and I stay in my head a lot. And so it's like, and I analyze stuff. And so I'm my own worst enemy, constructive criticism and things like that. So I think just stepping out and just making it happen, I think, has been the biggest thing for me as I'm moving forward, because it's like I've let a lot of things just kind of sit on the stove and simmer, and it's like, okay, I think now I just need to do what I need to do.
You said earlier, I'm going to pray on it for a couple of days, and I love that, because whether you're faith-based or not, who cares? Let's take that off the table. But the praying on it, I think it's the let it simmer. Those are the same in my book, and I think more people should do that more often with choices in their lives.
Yes.
Whether it's small stuff, texting your friend if you're upset, to big stuff like career decisions and things. Give it a day or two. Almost everything the answer will come to you in time.
Yes.
And I think letting it simmer or praying on it or whatever works best for you in that scenario is really important.
It is. And I look at it like you say that, like, you know, when you, in the financial world, they say, you know, have an emergency fund. Don't be one of those.
Sure.
That impulse shoppers.
Yeah.
And so
spend all your money before you even have it.
Right.
Yeah.
So they say, if you see an item you like, and you know you really can't afford it or really need it, is it a need or a want is the first thing you say. But then wait 24 hours. And if you still want it in 24 hours, then you can go and get it. But most people forget, you know, in 24 hours or something else comes up. So I kind of look at it like, you know, like, let's sit on it and...
Because then if you kind of, if it goes away, then there's not a passion there.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
That's super smart. And tell me, so we talked a little bit about, I said balance, and you're like, I don't even know what that is. So if you're in those times through this journey of yours where you've maybe faced some moments of doubt, or maybe the other hand is burnout, how do you handle those tougher times? How do you figure out what to do in moments of doubt? Or how do you maybe calm down that burnout and get re-energized?
Ooh, burnout. That's a big one.
Big dirty word,
like you know, having the 9 to 5 and then my own company.
Absolutely.
I'm also in other organizations, so I'm always on the go. So my thing is, for me, is self-care. Self-care is important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, mental health is real. And, you know, we talk about faith-based. For me, I pray and meditate. That's a given for me.
Great.
You know,
it's a great one.
I take walks. You know, I'm all about nature. In this part of my life, I like taking walks by the water and just reflecting and releasing. When I can travel, I travel. I love to travel. And and then exercise. Exercise is also, you know, well, you know,
God, it's important.
It's
That's
important.
probably one of the things. Water and walking even. It doesn't even necessarily need to be the Spartan race, right? Just a walk.
Exactly.
And water. Drink your water. You're going to get grouchy if you're dehydrated. Don't be grouchy. Yeah. Also, get some steps in. You can breathe some fresh air, get a little sunlight. It's good for you.
Live that healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, okay. Really smart.
That's the goal.
And how do you keep that motivation going like that?
And sometimes it gets tough, like I said, because it depends on if you have, you know, a lot of things going on, you know, and you're looking at your calendar like, oh my gosh, where am I going to find time for me? You know, it's kind of hard. Sometimes it's a struggle. And so sometimes you just, you know, it's like, okay, sometimes you just have to, you know, dive in. You know, if I can't work out today, okay, I'm going to go home and I'm just going to meditate. I'm going to
figure out something for myself.
I'm going to turn off the phone. I'm not going to get on social media.
Yes.
I'm just, you know, I try to find something else to do if it's something I really, you know, because my goal is, you know, like to work out every day, but that doesn't happen.
Sure.
You know, back when you met me, 2 years ago, I was faithful in the Y 3, 4, maybe 5 times a week. This day and age, this because of life, once or twice. So, you know.
But still getting there, which is important. And I think that's the thing is like the seasons of our lives. You know, I am in the current process of training for some Spartan races and, you know, doing all these things as we end this year and head into the new year. That's so fun for me and I enjoy doing it. But there was a long period of time years ago that I didn't, you know, between 2016 and 2022, I didn't do a lot of that. And that's okay. I still had some fitness goals and I was still running and doing some other things, but that season was just paused for me. And then I kind of got back into it in 2024 and then, you know, heading into 2025, kind of doing some of that, but probably not as much as maybe back in the day. And it's same thing and vice versa. It'll go back and forth. And I think that's okay because it's kind of how you're handling that bubble of life. Like how maybe right now workouts are 2 times a week and maybe in 6 months from now it'll be 4 times a week or maybe in a year from now it'll be back to 6 times a week and then maybe it'll go back to 2 again and that's okay because seasons of our life are seasons of our life.
Exactly. So it's just a matter of, to me it's like getting some me time in there somewhere. It's going to be hard sometime. And if it's at the end of the day, that's fine. If I just, you know, instead of meditating in the morning, I meditate at night. I might meditate in the morning and at night. But as long as I'm doing something to relax my mind and to release that stress, you know.
Yeah, super smart. And when you meditate, tell me a little, this is total tangent, but I just love this idea. I'm a meditator, by need, not by practice. Candidly, I would say I'm probably not very good at it. I struggle to calm my mind, but it does help me, so that's why I like to do it, because I do see the value.
Yes.
If you meditate, are you by yourself, alone in a room, all quiet? Do you have a little bit of kind of background noise or white noise on, or do you listen to a meditation that guides you?
I don't do any music because that distracts me.
Okay.
I'm in a room by myself, and I'm breathing, the breathing techniques and releasing, just calming my mind, just like when you breathe out, release all of that tension and anxiety, and breathe in. And every now and then I will do a meditated, and some days it's like, okay, I need something different.
Yep.
So let me go ahead and do this guided meditation practice. But
Okay.
normally,
so mix it up, but normally by yourself, just quiet and calm.
quiet and calm. Mm-hmm.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
It's hard for people to do that.
It is.
That's great. It's good for you too. I think that's fantastic. So meditation is probably one of them, but if you think about your out of work life, so we've talked a lot about your career and how it came to be, or careers plural. What are some of your passions outside of work? It sounds like meditation's one of them, but how do you what are those me items outside of meditation?
Travel is whenever I can, I travel.
And what's your favorite spot that you've ever been?
Let's see. In the United States, I like Texas.
Okay, interesting. I've never been. People say that I would really love Austin.
I've never been to Austin.
Okay.
I've been to San Antonio. I've been to Houston. I've been to Dallas.
Interesting, and you like it a lot.
I do like it.
That's impressive.
If I could pick up and move today, Dallas will probably
Really?
be. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome.
Minus the
It's good to
extreme
have that.
heat. I don't know yet about the heat.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Do you love the heat, or is it really just you love the place?
I love
it's
the
not
place.
About the heat. Okay.
I love the place, but 100-degree weather in June and July, I'm still trying to figure that one out.
It's almost, for me, it's like the flip. Like, you never have the winter months, but you have the summer months instead. And so it's like a similar vibe of you stay in a little bit more, you're outside a little less for all the right reasons. But in the Texas world, you get sunshine with that. And for me, I think that helps the vitamin D of it all helps me function better.
Yes. And outside the country, I would say Dubai. I went to Dubai a couple of years ago.
Amazing.
It was amazing.
And what brought you there? Just a cool place that you wanted to travel?
So it was on my bucket list. So I had an opportunity, which is funny. So my sorority sister, her co-worker's mom's best friend was turning 60.
Okay.
And she said, I want 60 people to come and celebrate with me in Dubai for my 60th. Now, mind you, I'm like 4 people out. I don't even know who this person is, right?
Right.
But because it was on my bucket list, and I'm like, I don't know when I'll get another opportunity to go. Let's go.
Plus, what a fun trip to take.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she had 72 people go with her, and we did Dubai, and we rode camels, and
what a loved person to have. I love myself. I think if anybody listens to the podcast, we all know that self-esteem is not my issue. That said, I don't know that I could get 60 people to go to Dubai with me. That's incredible.
yes. So
Wow. So Dubai was one of your favorite countries that you've ever visited.
Yes.
Okay, that's amazing. I would love that. And tell me about those people that have really influenced you in your life. Who has influenced you greatly? Are there women in your life that have influenced you a ton through time, and maybe how they impacted you?
Okay, so there may be a couple. So there is, let's see, my grandmother.
Okay.
So my grandmother, before she passed, growing up, she used to say, don't be like me. Go to school, get you a good job. So I used to go with her during the summertime. She used to clean dentist offices. So I would see her on her hands and knees scrubbing floors and things like that. And that was her thing. She said, enjoy life, go to school, get a good job. And she would always tell me that.
Interesting. That's a great one. Yeah.
That instilled in me. Then there was like high school, maybe in my 20s, there was Mary McAfee, and she was like my biggest cheerleader. And once again, you got this, you're smart, you can do this. Do it.
Okay, those people that push you.
Nothing's just stopping you. And currently, it's my friend Rhonda.
Okay.
And, like when I first, like with the podcast, and, it's things like, okay, I'm here, I'm station manager, I can't go no farther, I'm half 100. What's my next chapter? And she's like, what's stopping you? And so she's she puts stuff in my head, asks me questions like, well, why can't you do that? Well, I think you need to look into it. You won't know until you try. So she's a big motivator.
That's fantastic.
well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs that person in their life that's willing to say, you're wrong about yourself.
Exactly.
You deserve more or better. And that sounds like Rhonda.
Yes, and like I said, I'm in my head a lot, analyze a lot. She said, "You're in your head. Get out
She
your
knows
head.
you.
Get out your
Okay.
head." So,
Yeah.
yes.
And maybe Rhonda's the answer to this next question, but mentors. So how does mentorship play a role in your life? Do you mentor folks? Are you a mentor for some people in your life? Or do you have a mentor that you really want to shout out?
Well, let's see. There is, once again, Rhonda. Rhonda's great. Whenever I'm going through something, Rhonda is in my top people to call. Like, okay, I'm trying to work through this. Help me out. And so, she's a great resource. And I call her in a minute. And then there is, let's see, I have a guy friend. His name is Eugene. And he's the same way. He's been an entrepreneur for a long, long time. I met him through the radio station. Mm-hmm. And whenever I'm going through something, he's always, the same way. Well, and sometimes I need it from a man's perspective as well as a female perspective.
Yeah.
Because, being in radio when I first started, it was male dominated.
Sure.
And so, I got a lot of slack, like, you'll never succeed. When I got the station manager, there was another coworker that was trying to get the role as station manager, and he was like, you won't exceed as a station manager. You're nothing but a high-priced secretary, and things like that. Yeah,
oh my
exactly.
Gosh, can you imagine that today?
And so I was like, really? What? So, the struggles that I would go through, sometimes I would get a male and a female perspective on things.
Smart.
And so, yes. And so I do. And I as far as mentoring, I have taken some people under my wing. There's people that come through the radio station that want to learn broadcasting. So I come in and they do an internship or a job shadow, and I kind of show them and walk them through things.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
That's really great. People need that, right? And I feel like, I think I've even mentioned on this podcast before, I have mentioned that I really look at All About the Girls guest and speaker at the event, Dr. V, as a mentor of mine. And I kind of joke, but we've never had that conversation. I've never asked her to be. Uh-huh. She's never agreed to be either. But I think she's that person for a lot of people. Okay. And I think having someone that will say, oh, sure, you want to learn this? Let me bring you along. Let me help you. It's a scary world for folks if they're looking for someone to kind of learn from. And so to dive in and offer that's fantastic. It's appreciated for sure.
And so that's just what I try to do. Like, I think it was Simon Sinek. He said, being a leader means you're in charge, but it also means taking care of who's in your charge. So even like my coworkers, if people I bring on, I would tell them the same thing, like my boss told me, use this as a stepping stone to get to wherever you want to gain experience, as a DJ or whatever the case may be. Take it someplace else. I'm like, it was open to me, I'm going to open it to you as well. And so there's times, where, I'm an encourager.
That's fantastic.
So, and I'm a supporter. So a lot of people say, they say that's your gift, is encouragement, because you're always encouraging and you're always supporting. And so it's like,
there's not enough of it. People need it a lot. And I think we get wrapped up quickly in our own worlds often. And so how do you ensure that you're helping those other folks, or just that encouragement is so helpful sometimes. And I don't think that we don't miss it till we miss it. And I think that's the thing is you don't notice it until it's not there anymore.
Right.
But it's a big piece of your day-to-day and how you stay motivated and how people continue on and learn new things and get inspired.
Exactly. And there's, like you said, there's so many people that don't get it, especially if their circle is a, shall I say, negative circle. And you always got your naysayers and you're trying to do better and they're bringing you down. It's like, no, you can do anything you put your mind to,
Absolutely.
How can you get there? What do you need assistance with? So, like, as I'm a connector, people are coming to me and be like, I know And so, a couple of weeks ago, I had a friend whose relative died, and she had this record album collection. And she was like, you work in radio, do you know someone that might want these record albums? Of course. gave her a connection, and she was like, "Yeah,
I hope the connection was me. I'm just saying. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry, I did not know. I will keep
I'm a
that
total
in mind.
vinyl nerd. Keep it in mind for the future.
Okay.
But that's really cool. What a nice thing. And then it's this cool, like that person was able to give that collection to someone that really is going to care versus dropping it off at Goodwill or something.
Exactly.
That's really neat.
So she was like, "I just want to thank you. He took half the albums, but I still got some here, but he told me what I could do with them." So
I love that. The connector. I think that's a great way to title it, is I'm a connector. I think I love those people because, especially, we just launched in Michiana Life in 2024, and I needed a lot of connecting. I tend to not be great at asking. I knew I had to, so I did. But there was a lot of folks, you were one of them, that just kind of said, "Hey, here's some people you might want to know." It's so helpful. Yeah, I like that. That should be a title of some sort of job title, connector.
I've heard that too. I've heard people say, "You need to look into doing that
Do that for a living." Yeah,
you can make some money off of that." And I'd be like, maybe you're on
put it
something.
in the production company, add it to the list.
Exactly.
I love that. So tell me a little bit about your family. I think we hear it all about the girls. Look at family as, who's your support system? Do you have kiddos?
Yeah, I have a son. He's 28.
That's what I thought. I couldn't remember. So you have a son that's 28. He's probably part of that support system, or maybe vice versa, support for both of you. Who else is in that big support system family, whether it's chosen family, regular family?
My mom's a good supporter. My mom is always, she would say, "Your dad would be so," my dad died in 2000. She would like, "Your dad would be so proud of you and your sisters." And, because, we are striving and growing and just strong, independent women.
Yes.
And so that's one thing my dad instilled upon us is, to be very dependent and not depend on anyone. So,
Yes.
When your father tells you that, it's like, okay, cool, Dad. So, yeah,
It's something you probably carry with you for a long time, too.
Right. So my sisters are very supportive. I have a sister in St. Louis, and she's a pharmacist. And, we just kind of like, okay, I'm going through this, and we kind of talk it through. And
That's fantastic.
The other one is going, I think she's studying for her real estate license. And so,
Okay.
Yeah.
And where's she at?
She's here in this area.
Okay, that's great. I love it. And what advice would you give to women who are struggling to either find that balance, or maybe they feel like they're falling behind in their professional life or even in their personal life? What advice would you give them to kind of get them back in that confident world and feel on track?
I would tell them to take it one day at a time. Don't let fear stop you. And just, what they say, write the vision and make it plain. I've been saying that a lot lately.
I love this.
So you have to write it down. You have to be able to visualize where you want to go in order to take the steps to get there.
I love that. And then tell me a little bit about you as far as, you've talked a little bit about who you are as a person, and how do you maintain that person, that self, while you juggle all these different roles? How do you kind of keep yourself being?
I do. It's having that positive circle of people around you. What'd you say, the self-board of directors of me. Yeah. And so, I always have people, like I said, Rhonda is in my circle. So there's people, when I'm going through struggles and I can't figure it out, the church, I'm in church. So, it's I have church family that's supportive, trying to keep me grounded. And when I'm struggling and going through things, pray for me. They don't need to necessarily know what I'm going through. They're like, we're just going to pray for you, which is a plus. And it's just...
Yeah, and I feel like that just brings it all central, if you will. Like, you've got your church friends praying for you. You've got your kind of C-suite of friends that kind of help you, your board members, I think is a great way to put it, that are going to kind of help advise you. You've got maybe those mentor folks that are going to help kind of advise along the way as well. And you've got these kind of sectors of people, but they each have their own role, and then you send them on their own role.
Exactly.
That's really smart. Let's look ahead, if you will. What is a piece of advice that you would give your younger self if you could go back in time?
Ooh. Don't let fear stop you. Like I said, you know, there's a lot of things I didn't do. And that's what I would tell myself. Boundaries. Boundaries are important. I would be like,
That's a really good one too.
Create healthy boundaries.
I think that boundaries are one. If I listen to some podcasts about Reddit, like where they read Reddit stories, and I listen to a couple podcasts of just, random conversation. And growing up, I didn't learn anything about boundaries. I didn't get taught about boundaries at home. I didn't get taught about boundaries at school. It was something that I think more new age in my world, maybe not everybody's, but my world, that we hear a lot more about today than we did when I was a kid. It's a really important thing to learn about, but we don't.
Exactly.
It's almost trial by fire. And then when you get older, people are like, oh, well, you need boundaries. And you're like, what was that? What does that mean?
Exactly.
And then you kind of have to wrap your head around like, oh, I don't know that I knew that I could even have boundaries.
Exactly.
This is very liberating, a little scary, but very liberating to say, no, that's a boundary I have. And if you cross it, then we're just not compatible necessarily. Or I'm setting this boundary to ensure that you know what that looks like.
Exactly.
And it's so important, but it'd be nice to learn more about that, I think, growing up. Younger, right? If I had set more boundaries when I was 15,
right.
I think I don't want it to change much because I love my life, but I think my life would have been very different.
It would have been different.
Just those maybe negative influences probably wouldn't have influenced so much.
Exactly.
Because I had boundaries. Interesting. That's a good one.
Yes.
Boundaries. And what's next for you? Looking ahead, so we're, early in 2025. What's up ahead for you? What's next? Do you know?
I have no idea. It's like whatever doors open, wherever God leads me. I don't want to say. I don't want to speak anything that I haven't wrote my vision board yet.
Okay. So we've got to
coming.
get you
so,
in the vision board life first.
I do a vision board at the beginning of every year.
Okay.
So,
I love that. That's great. And do you do that with people as a group, or is it really your thing?
No, I do it with a group of. It's been a different group of people every time. So one year I did it at the church. One year I did it with Rhonda. She had a vision board. So I've done.
So you need to connect with Sharina for this. Maybe me too. This is new for me. Sharina's a huge vision board person. She'll do, and you guys will meet, if you're a podcast regular listener, you've heard her name 100 times. You will meet her soon, I promise. So she's a vision boarder for sure. And it's like a big change in her life, a big goal in her life, a new year. She'll do a vision board for almost all of those reasons. I've never done it, but I've seen it through her, and then, movies and kind of cliche things through the years where I'm like, that's kind of a really cool thing that I've never taken part in. So let me know when you're doing it, because I want to come in. Sharina would die. She loves it so much.
Maybe I'll connect with Sharina and we can make something happen.
Let's do like a fun early year vision board, and then we'll know the answers to these.
Exactly.
Because I don't know mine either, honestly. Exactly. Everybody's got to know a little bit, but it's hard to look ahead when you're in it every day.
Exactly.
Because it does take a time. I like that you kind of schedule that at your year, because it takes time. It needs to be off time, because you can't be worried about work while you're creating what the next year looks like.
Exactly.
Really smart.
I do know I'm going to, because I'm on several organizations too. I'm in, I think 7. Organization. So it's like I'm trying to, I'm going to have to scale back something that I'm on.
Okay, and like board member, volunteer, those sorts of things?
Yes.
Any that you want to specifically shout out, those organizations?
Well, let's see. I am an ambassador for the Greater Niles Chamber of Commerce.
Fantastic.
That's the longest I've been on since 2007.
Wow. That's fantastic.
And then I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I am an advisory board member for the Niles Buchanan YMCA. I am a panel member facilitator for the Berrien County Community Restorative Board.
Ooh, okay.
Which is, they deal with first-time juvenile offenders, so they don't have to go through the court system. So I kind of really like that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Let's see. I am on the advisory board for the Women's Business Center. And because it's all about women, you know,
I love this.
it's
Yes,
all about
I'm seeing
women.
a very good. You've got a pattern. I love it.
I am on the board for the Cassopolis Family Clinic. Wow. There may be
So
some
really
other
like
stuff,
women, family, and obviously the chamber ambassador, that's new business and things like that, which is always good as a whole, no matter who's running it. But the others are very family and women based, which is really cool to see. Like you're intentional with your time, it sounds like.
I am.
It's really smart. Because it probably helps that whole balance thing come into play where you don't worry about it if you like it.
Exactly. Because I enjoy what I do. Yeah,
if you like it.
I don't. And I do when I enjoy things. What's my time commitment? That's the first thing. Because as you know, I work a 9 to 5 and
plus the production company, plus the podcast.
Right.
That's huge.
I have to make sure I have time to commit to, you know. And then I do things in Niles, you know, with like the promotions committee. And it's not, you know, just because I'm in Niles and, you know, I want to make sure I'm out there supporting the community I live and work in.
Yeah. I think if folks that don't know, obviously, like I said, we've launched Michiana Life in 2024 and Niles is a part of Michiana. So I knew of Niles just from living in South Bend for so many years, but it's Niles, Michigan. If no, I would assume everybody picked that up. But it's a really great community. I have some great friends that live and work there. You're included in that group. And I feel like, of course. And it was a place that I visited so often when I lived in South Bend. The downtown events are fantastic. Yes. The downtown is fantastic. It's beautiful. Their YMCA is phenomenal. I mean, it's a really great community of people. The mayor, I don't know him well, but I know the Shelton family, of which he's a part of, and they're fantastic. They are, yes. It's a really great place. It so is. I think it's a cool connection that you have. It's a community that you've really kind of embraced and I think built. You've been a part of it.
I have.
And so it's really cool to see, because if you haven't been to Niles, I would just suggest go pop out there.
Yes.
Let me think. They have Ice Fest.
In January.
It's in January, so we've missed that, but next year. Spooky season, if you go into Halloween, you've got the Niles Screen Park.
Niles Screen Park, yes. Mm-hmm.
It is no joke. So don't play around. If you're not good at scary, don't do it. It's scary.
Yes.
I'm not good at scary, and I almost peed my pants. It's scary. But there's also some fun summer fests, and they've got
the Apple Festival.
Yeah, there we go. I couldn't remember. So get out to Niles. It's a really fun place. Yes. I really enjoy it. So a couple closing questions before we get to the speed round. Tell me, what is bringing you joy in your life right now? What's something that's bringing you a ton of joy right now?
You know, I just enjoy life. You know, I'm living off of my grandmother's, you know, she said, you know, don't be like me, get educated, travel. That's one of the reasons why I got into travel. So she didn't start traveling until she was sick. And then, you know, she did this full circuit. She went to Niagara Falls. She went to the Grand Canyon. So she did a variety of things. And then, of course, she passed. But, you know, and during that time, she was like, travel, enjoy life, you know. So it's you only live once. So it's like.
That's a great way to put
whatever it is, I just try to enjoy it.
That's good. And if you could describe yourself in 3 words, what would those 3 words be?
Ooh, loyal.
Good
I'm
one.
definitely loyal. Encourager. As I said, I'm an encourager, and let's see what that last one be. Oh, loyal, encourager, and just
connector.
Connector. See,
it has to be connector.
Connector. Yes.
And what do you hope other women take away from learning and hearing your story on the podcast?
Just to know that they can do whatever they set their minds to. Sky is the limit. There's nothing holding you back. Now, there may be some barriers and some challenges, but those are the things that make you strive and say, I'm going to do this.
It's all part of the journey. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And I think that's the biggest, scariest thing is like, if you plan too much, you're going to plan right through all of those real scary things, and then you're going to go, whoa, that looks real scary. Sometimes you do just have to dive in and trust yourself that you can make it through the barriers as they come. And it's scary.
It is.
And I think we've all had those moments where we said we wanted something enough to go ahead and do that.
Right.
But it took that, right? It takes that moment of, I really want this thing so bad. I'll figure it out as I go.
Yes.
And then you have to dive in. And it's scary as heck, but it does work.
It does. Living proof.
Exactly. Yes, living proof. I mean, there's so many scenarios where you dove into the radio world, into the voiceover world, and I know that story, and I don't even think you mentioned it. Maybe we should talk about it, but how you got into voiceover was very similar, and how you got into the radio in the first place was someone needed something read, and you were like, I guess that's me today, and then they liked it. You realized via yourself and probably many other opinions that you've got a great voice for radio, and then probably knew from those childhood kind of memories of, oh, I can do these different voices. I can change this a little bit to be what people need. And so it is just, you dove in.
I did.
You saw the need for the podcast. You actually tried to give it to someone else who gave it to you instead, which I love that piece too. Of it's just really cool to see that person. Was that Rhonda?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Mm-hmm. That person gave that to you when you were trying to give it to them.
Exactly.
And now it's yours.
It is.
And that's because she's really smart, and it made a ton of sense to go to you. Because she knew you had it in you. Right. But you had to dive in. And that's scary.
It is.
That's awesome.
But look where I'm at.
Look at
4
this.
years in and still doing it. And I still enjoy hearing the stories, because there are amazing women out there with stories, and one day I'm gonna have you on there.
I would love it. I have much of less of a cool story than the doula for sure. These folks are incredible for sure. It's really cool what you're doing. I'm proud.
Thank you. You know.
Are you ready for some quick response?
Yes.
Here we go. So if you're new here, which I'm guessing you're not, 5 seconds to answer the question, or Marci gets buzzed. We're not going to let her get buzzed, but again, these are pretty new quick response questions, so I don't think you cheated. But if you cheated and listened to other ones, these are new and you won't know them. So let's hit it.
Okay.
All right. If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would that meal be?
One meal for the rest of my life, that would have to be, let's see, one meal. Shrimp.
I was like getting ready to hit the buzzer, and I'm like, please don't make me do it. Shrimp's a good one.
Shrimp, yeah.
It's always good, and you can make it tons of different ways, so I feel like that's great. What's your spirit animal?
Ooh, spirit animal. Dove?
Ooh, that's one I would have never expected. What a great one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I needed a drink.
That's okay.
A dove. How soft and kind of you. That's very nice. I like that. I don't know why I'm immediately like, I'm so aggressive. I'm like, a shark, a unicorn, a bear. You're like a dove. I'm like, this is why I love you. If you could swap lives with any fictional character, who would it be?
Fictional character. Oh my goodness. Fictional character. I don't know. Tinkerbell?
Oh. Why was I going to say the same thing? Because she sprinkles glitter everywhere, right?
Gentle and kind with the dove.
I love this, yes. What's your favorite smell in the whole world?
I like, favorite smell. I don't know. I like men's scent, so I don't know, male scents.
Oh, I see. Okay, like that scent of a man, if you will. Like maybe a musky cologne sort of
like
scent?
That, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I like that. That's a good one. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
What's your most used emoji?
Oh, the laugh out loud with the tears.
Oh, I love that. Yes, that's great. What's one talent that you wish that you had?
Oh, to be able to be a giver and give to those in need.
That's a good one. What's your guilty pleasure TV show?
Oh, guilty pleasure TV show. That's a good one. I don't really watch a lot of TV. Be too busy working.
I was just going to say, you don't even have time for that.
Guilty pleasure. I don't know. I don't know.
First buzz. It's okay. I would have to say I'm into a couple reality TV shows, and they're trash. And I love it. And it's okay. TV, so and I don't do it like I'm not a religious follower, like, oh my gosh, get home, the new episode. I'm not that person. But I do like a Selling Sunset, and I want to watch some of the drama. And I love, if you get, Selling Sunset's great because you can watch the drama of like the catfight life, where then I'm like, gosh, my friends are great. And see really cool houses at the same time. So for me, it's a good balance of, it's not like Real Housewives. I think that's a common one. People love like whatever housewife it is from wherever, Orange County, Jersey, whatever. I think over time those have gotten to a point of all they do is fight, and I'm just not here for it. It's too much angst. If you got to have something else, where like a Selling Sunset. Now they've got a little bit of drama and a little bit of really cool, $10 million homes that
I don't
I
do a
want
lot
to
of
see.
TV. I'm editing and doing other things.
Yeah, you don't have
so,
time
yeah.
for TV, it sounds like. If you could instantly master any instrument, what instrument would it be?
The piano.
Ooh, good one. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
If you could I don't know why that surprised me. I was like, really, tea? It fits tea and Dove and all of
Gentle
these
and kind.
gentle and
Yes.
kind. Yeah. If you could have dinner with any person, dead or alive, who would that be?
Oh, that's a good question. Dead or alive. Honestly, I'm a Prince fan.
Okay.
I would
Ooh,
wanna
that's a
know
great
deep
one.
down, like.
As a side note, I can say this because by the time this launches, I will have the information. Airbnb launched a Prince house that you can rent. I think it has some of his actual owned items. It's a couple, or it's these. I don't know if they're a couple, but there's two ladies that own the house, and they only offer rental on Airbnb, and it's only open for certain times. So I just got in because my husband is a huge Prince fan. Huge. He loves Prince. He knows his whole history. He loves all the music, and so I'm trying to book for the 2025 year. It opened for a very small window, and I just said, anytime you got, I'll take it. My husband would love this. So I'm supposed to hear back in the next couple weeks if I got in. So we'll see.
You have to tell me
I will
about
tell
that.
you, and of course, take all the pics if we get in. What is the weirdest thing in your fridge right now?
Oh, the weirdest thing in my fridge.
A long lost peanut butter cup.
Peanut butter cup. So a friend of mine made, I don't know what it's called, but it's like vinegary, and it's got cauliflower and carrots and peppers.
Like a pickled veggie sort of thing. Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this?
What do I do with it?
I understand. You use it when your hamburgers, your Polish or whatever. You just put it on there, and so whenever I open it, I'd be like, one day I'm gonna try you.
I'm gonna try you. I don't know when or for what, but I'm gonna try it.
Exactly.
If it's just pickled, it's probably harder to use. If it's spicy and pickled,
spices
okay,
there's
that stuff's
spices
good.
in it too.
Here's a little tip. Maybe this will work for you. I don't know. I do giardiniera, which is similar. It's like carrots and jalapeno and banana pepper and maybe cauliflower, cut up really small and pickled.
I think that's what she said it was called.
So I just this morning did it with, I scrambled some eggs and then just sprinkled it on top when I was done cooking it. It was phenomenal.
Okay.
It was great. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try it.
Try it out. That is a weird object to be in your fridge, though. So good answer. If you were a superhero, what superpower would you have?
The ability to be invisible.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
I always love that because you could be anywhere. And no one would know.
Exactly.
But then I feel like I'd hear a lot of opinions, potentially about me, that I don't know if I want to know.
And all of a sudden, the water will tip over and you'll be like, what just happened?
Is that karma? Yeah, you're talking smack. You better quit.
Exactly.
That's a great idea. What was the last thing that you Googled?
Ooh, the last thing that I Googled. What was the last thing that I Googled? Actually, I was Googling the comedian is coming to the comedy club in Niles. I wanted to
Checking them out.
check him out and see
That's
what,
cool.
what his
I didn't know there was a
skit.
comedy club in Niles.
It's like the wonderful things in Niles. It's called the Underground Laugh Lounge. It's been there about a year in September. It's been there a year in September. It was a year.
Okay.
And they have comedians there and
Okay, that's cool as
they
heck.
have-
Another thing to go to Niles for.
they have open mic night on Thursdays if you want to be a comedian.
Oh, cool.
On some Wednesdays they do karaoke. There's karaoke tonight. And every now and then they do a newlywed game.
Oh, that's really fun.
Underground Laugh Lounge.
Okay, I'm going. I love this. Great Google. What's one word your best friend would use to describe you? Tell us what Rhonda thinks.
Rhonda thinks I'm in my head a lot, so you're being too analytical, Marci.
Okay, analytical.
Yes.
That's a great answer. Yeah. Well, good. See, look, only one buzz.
Yes.
You made it through the questions, one buzz.
I have to watch TV.
I mean, exactly.
And I'm
not
like,
a terrible
what do I
buzz
watch?
to have.
Where I say, move out the way. I gotta watch the show. Shh.
Yeah.
I don't have one of
No.
those. So it's just like if something's on and catches my attention,
You'll watch it, but
I'll
never
watch it,
really.
but not really like.
'Cause you're moving.
It's 8:00 on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
I do like though. Is it Chicago Fire?
Oh,
Chicago
yes.
Med. The one,
Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, and Chicago Med.
I was watching. I was listening to something. He's going to be in Chicago or somewhere in this area.
Okay.
And I was like, man, I wish I could get there. I can't think of what his name is, but yeah.
Oh, I have to find out. My husband is a big fan of Chicago Fire as well. And same thing. I started watching that because he watched it.
It's Chicago PD. The Chicago PD.
PD is the one you like? Okay. I've only watched that a couple times. Also great. And the storylines that they build into those shows where they're showing you, firefighter or police work and giving you storylines at the same time, it's pretty crafty. I'm pretty impressed with their writing. They do a really good job.
They do. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's all one kind of dynasty, right? Like all of those.
Yeah.
The Chicago Med, PD, and Fire. Yeah. Because I think he mentioned at some point where they do crossovers where they'll, the fire is caused by a felon that gets arrested, so then they bring it to the Chicago PD from the Chicago Fire show, and they do well. Yes. It's incredible. I feel like it's like a new Dick Wolf universe, like the SVU universe, but it's kind of the new age version of something like that.
Yes.
Very cool. That's a good one.
Yeah.
See, you could have said that.
I wasn't thinking because it's like, what do I watch? Because
I
don't forget. I think, is it Wednesdays or I forget what day it's on.
And it's not something that you're dying to watch because you just, especially with the work you do, if you're editing, you can't have other things playing.
Exactly.
If you're recording, you also can't, so you can't really do work and listen. Like you're not someone that can just have the TV on and type.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't work within almost anything you do.
Right. Because I wouldn't know what was going on. And I would have to constantly hit the
pause button or the
sort of,
exactly.
Like,
Mute it or whatever.
Happened?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't work. Is there anything we didn't talk about today that you want to mention?
No, I think we covered.
We got your story out
yes,
there. Well, thank you so much, Marci, for coming. How do people connect with you and your companies?
Well, let's see. Well, I have two websites, one for the podcast. Let's start with Women Who Boss Up. They can find me on any podcast platform, Spotify, Apple. Website is www.bossup.com. Women Who Boss Up on Facebook. Let's see. The voiceovers is WeBossyVoices.com is the website. We Bossy Voices on Instagram and on Facebook.
I love it.
And I think there is a YouTube channel somewhere.
I love it. You are a kind, gentle soul, just as you described to us earlier. I appreciate all the badass work you're doing, all of the kindness you're putting in the world, and all the help that you're offering to the connecting work that you're doing and offering to the community too. You're great.
Well, thank you for those kind words, and thank you for, letting me be on your podcast. I'm so excited.
Of course. Well, tune in for another episode next month. Connect with Marci, and she'll connect you. Have a great afternoon, you guys, and we will see you next month. Take care.